Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Andrew Ansbro. I am president of the Uniformed Firefighter Association. I'm joined by Jimmy McCarthy, president of the Uniformed Fire Officers Association. Basically making a comment about yesterday's horrific fire. I was called to the scene when I was alerted to the fifth alarm and the large number of people requiring medical attention. When I got on the scene, it was absolutely horrific. I talked to many veteran firefighters who said it was the worst fire they've ever been in their lives. They were doing CPR on people outside, getting them into ambulances. It was absolutely horrific. The members that operated yesterday did so with the utmost heroism and traditions of the FDNY. Unfortunately, not all fires have a positive outcome, and not everyone makes it out. It's horrible. This fire is something that will live with these members forever. Jimmy?
Yeah, over 200 firefighters responded to this incident, and they really operated above and beyond the call of duty. Fire on the second floor that it extended to the third floor, and the smoke went out throughout the building into the stairwell and overcome a lot of the residents, and they could not get out of the building. Many went to the roof, many tried to make their way out, and our firefighters attacked the fire from the interior and the exterior with ladders and aerials, and trying to rescue as many people as possible. Hundreds of residents were taken out of the building, and it's a shame that many of the residents succumbed to their exposure to the toxic smoke. But our members did is followed their training and saved as many lives as they could in this incident. It's a tragedy.
Absolutely. It's a well-known building in that area. It's known for having difficult fires. The department had written in its own publication a memo on a fire there about 35 years ago. It's very tough conditions. This time of year, fire duty increases, chance of loss of life increases, and yesterday's horrible tragedy is a testament to a series of unfortunate things. A space heater breaking down and people trying to escape through the smoke, and it's just a horrible outcome.
Yeah, as the temperature gets cooler and cold in the evenings, people find different ways to heat their apartments and stay warm. And space heaters are often a problem with open electrical connections or disrepair, and causes fire. And one of the biggest things that the fire department puts in their public service announcements is to close the door to the apartment. And that was one of the problems here, that the residents exited the apartment, left the door open, and the fire extended out into the public hallway and the stairwell, exposing everybody else in the building. It's a federal building. It's a building built with federal subsidies that didn't have to adhere to New York City fire codes. So there was different fire protection in this building than we have in tenements and other high rises in New York City under the New York City code. So it exposed the members to a more dangerous atmosphere.
Right. I was informed that the first floor engine companies advanced 2 hose lines to put the fire out. As they called for the additional companies, they eventually called, when they called for the third and fourth alarms, they asked for members not to bring firefighting gear, just to bring medical gear to assist in the removal and patient care. It was an extremely difficult task getting all those people out of the building and rendering aid to them.
If you've seen the videos, you can see the fire extending out the windows, and our members putting up the portable ladders to the exterior of the building, and there was an aggressive interior attack as well. And people risked themselves and their well-being to try and get the residents out of this building. Many of them ran out of air with their SCBAs, their self-contained breathing apparatus, and still continued working at personal peril to try and rescue as many people as possible. They really operate above and beyond the call of duty, and it's a testament to the bravery and the fortitude of the members of the FDNY.
Absolutely. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. This is Paul Gerke with News Nation. Thanks for taking the time today, gentlemen. Just a quick one at first. Was there a sprinkler system in the building? And if not, was that one of the things that was exempt from since it was built with federal funds and didn't have to apply to the code?
To my knowledge, no, there's no sprinkler.
Would that have been in violation of the law that was passed after 9/11 then that said that every building in New York City had to have a sprinkler system within 15 years of that 2004 legislation?
It's possible that bill still was under federal guidelines, the building codes. The foreman really would be better to answer that question.
Drilling in a little bit more to the safety concern, specifically the door closed regulation passed in 2018 after arguably the most recent horrible fire that we had here in the city. Can you talk about in what way this federal fund exempts the building owner from doing something like enacting that, which was supposed to be done by the middle of last year?
A lot of because of this federal funding used to build these structures, it doesn't have to follow New York City code, it follows a different code. So a lot of the safety features we have in the other buildings in New York City aren't in these buildings, but there are some safety factors, and self-closing doors is one of those things that help contain the fire into the one apartment, and they often break or are disabled by the residents, and that affects the extension of the smoke and the fire outside of the apartment.
Are there any issues yesterday at all with staffing, four-man teams versus five-man teams, firefighters in a particular house out sick with COVID? Any such issues on those two topics?
Well, it's too early to say if there was a cause and effect. The union has been pushing for better staffing for 35 years when they took the fifth firefighter away. We've negotiated to have 20 back. The first two engine companies should have had a fifth firefighter. That was removed last week due to COVID-related illness. They reduced staffing in 20 engine companies. Without question, would have assisted getting the fire put out faster. Whether or not that had an effect between life and death is still debatable.
And you mentioned the memo from some 35 years ago, a fire at that building. Could you elaborate?
Yes, I'll actually look at the building is well known, and in the department's own records, they say it's a case study on why you should have fully staffed engine companies.
Hey, it's Matt Chase from Newsday. I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little beyond sprinklers on how this building was different due to its federal status.
Well, the investigation is ongoing, and I have responded to that building. My firehouse is on 155th Street. We used to relocate to that area when that fire company was out. We responded to that building, and it's a duplex apartments and a little different bit of a layout. And there's various ways that the federal regulations differ from New York City, and I don't recall all of them, but in the investigation, I'm sure that's going to show a lot of that issues, and something that the fire department is familiar with, and it's one of the reasons we do building inspection and go into these structures and make sure that their fire protection is in working order as well as meeting the code. And we have what I've been told, there have been violations in this building addressed by the fire department.
And second of all, you mentioned that the air went out for some of these firefighters. How long can you be in a smoky building with your air out, and what do you do? I mean, presumably you can't breathe at some point, right?
Yeah, we carry a cylinder with air in our self-contained breathing apparatus. It's a 45 minutes of air, and they give you some escape time, 10 to 13 minutes to get out. An alarm goes off, and that lets you know that your air is low and you need to get out. But many of the firefighters in this incident operated while those alarms are going off and pushing the envelope as close as possible to running out of air, and some did, just to try and save as many lives as possible. And again, another example of working above and beyond the call of duty and the bravery of the FDNY members.
There's still a lot we don't know about the people who were rescued, particularly poignant moments. I know it's still less than a day old, but do you have any anecdotal sense of that? People were rescued from the roof, hiding under beds, things like that.
Well, I was told they found people on every single floor and the stairwells, so they were taken from everywhere.
Yeah, listening to the radio traffic on handy talkies for the firefighters, they were calling for medical responses, urgent medical responses to the roof and just about every floor in the building. So people were rescued throughout the entire structure.
This is Chris Glorioso from NBC4. I just want to get some clarification. Are you saying that there was no requirement for there to be self-closing fire doors in this building?
I'm not aware of what the requirement is, but the New York City requirement is that there's self-closing doors. Now, I don't know about this particular structure, but again, with federal funding for the building, they don't necessarily have to follow New York City fire code. They would go by a different code. I'm not aware of what they did or if they did have the self-closing doors, but usually they reinstall them.
And then just as a follow-up, I mean, obviously, the failure of doors to close, that puts your members in danger. Is there any advocacy statement that the union or unions have made to try and persuade both the federal government and local municipalities to place more emphasis on this? If this puts your members in danger, should we have a law that requires these self-closing doors in every building, not just ones that are city regulated?
Well, the fire department does public service announcements every year, several times a year, about closing the door. And one of the most important parts, just closing the door, and there's photographic evidence of a door closed and keeping that fire in the apartment, not exposing the rest of the residents in the hallway and the stairwell. You know, as far as we're concerned, yes, it protects our members as well as the other residents in buildings. Self-closing doors should be a requirement. And that is up to the city and the building codes to make sure that's implemented. We're there doing inspections. We try and take a look at that. We can't go into private apartments. We just look at the public areas of each building.
Mr. Answer, forgive me, the audio was a little in and out before when I asked you this question. Could you go over again the issue of, I believe you said there were two houses that had teams because of COVID, not necessarily because of assigned staffing. Can you just clarify that, and which houses are you talking about?
Right. 48 engine was first due. They normally have an extra, well, I should say an extra, 5 firefighters working. Due to medical leave, department-wide being high, they didn't hire someone to work in that position. So there was one less person on the first engine company.
Just for that one engine company?
Well, I believe 3 engine companies that went should have had an extra firefighter. Had this fire happened 35 years ago, it would have been all of them.
So all 3 had 4?
Yes.
And 1 because of medical, 2 because of the way staffing is generally?
No. Every engine company had 4 firefighters on it. The union negotiated to have more firefighters on rigs, and 20 engine companies, which is 10%. The first 2 engine would have had 1 more engine than on it, had medical leave not risen due to COVID.
And to be clear about the federal regulations, is there any indication that the firefighting effort was hampered because of this federal regulation versus the city code?
No, that'll come out in the investigation. Well, we're not sure at this time.
And if you could also clarify on the firefighters on an engine, you said 20%. I'm sorry, I was confused. Typically, how many of these engines would have had 5 versus 4?
3. 3 out of 20.
All right, so the ones that responded, you said 3 of them had 4, or 4 of them had 4, and 1 was because of medical.
All of them had 4. The union is constantly calling for 5 firefighter engines when the weather gets bad due to the increased fire load and things like this. So that's the point we try to make with that. Many hands make light work. And when you're moving moving a hose line in, every additional hand helps. The fire department reduced staff in that engine company 1 week ago. Had this fire happen January 2nd, there would have been an extra engine in there.
Nayaba, the Amsterdam News. Can I ask you for clarity? Of the 90 people that passed away, was it all smoke inhalation?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And you say you found people on every single floor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Guys, I had a question in regards to the fire alarms. From your knowledge of that building, are the fire alarms something that could be faulty, or is it something where somebody could come by and just trigger it by either accident or as a prank or something? Because we've heard reports of people saying that they ignored the fire alarms because they just hear it go off all the time, and there's a lot of false alarms there.
But we heard some stories about on the news reports about people smoking in the hallways, setting off the smoke alarms, and people were ignoring them because they went off so often. But even if smoking is illegal inside the building, and even if you hear the smoke alarm, it shouldn't be ignored, and people should at least investigate it, and then take action if they find that there is a fire and smoke in the hallway. Disabling fire protection equipment happens periodically, and a lot of these boxes are broken or damaged by residents, perhaps as a prank or just as vandalism. But I'm not aware of any of that happening in this building, but the investigation will prove the status of that fire protection equipment.
What is the age range of the deceased?
I know there's some children. I'm not sure of the oldest. I'm sure there'll be a full accounting in the paper.
Yeah, I didn't see the breakdown of the ages.
Do we have any further questions from the media?
Hey, it's Corey Kilgannon from the New York Times. Gentlemen, I just want to make sure the COVID, sick, the firefighters who were out sick because of COVID, are you saying that might have made a difference if it was at full rank, or was it a minimal, as far as the responding units, were they undermanned because of that? I just want to get that straight.
Listen, this tragedy was a lot of factors involved, and to try to point a finger is not what we're here to do. Absolutely not what we're looking to do. We always advocate for fully staffed engine companies to get hose lines in faster, and it would have helped with victim removal. Full investigation will be done. We hope the department and the mayor and everybody learns from this, and we continue to advocate for fully staffed engine companies. Everything in our businesses seconds count, and having more people on hand always makes a difference.
Right, but which were due to COVID?
Life and death, it's hard to say that.
I mean, which of those were due to COVID, and which were long-standing departmental changes from 5 to 4 firefighter units?
Pardon?
Which of those yesterday were due to COVID, and obviously the other ones are due to long-time policy change from 5 to 4-man units.
Right. First due engine was COVID related. I can actually get the numbers here. Hold on. The actual companies. 48 engine was first due. 42 engine came on the first alarm, and 50 engine on the second alarm.
And did they all have sick outages because of COVID? Or?
It's not a sick outage. It's the department didn't hire someone additional because the citywide medical leave was high because of members that have COVID.
So you're saying those responding 48, 42, and 50 were understaffed as of Sunday because of the pandemic?
We're like 16% medical leave.
But just to be clear, 48, 42, and 50 each had 4 people when under typical conditions they would have had 5.
Yes.
But all the other 17 engines They had 4 and they would have had 4.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you just clarify what you mean by typical conditions? You may have said this, I'm sorry.
Good morning, this is Yolanda Vasquez from Telemundo 47. Going back to the codes, could you please clarify specifically what are the codes for the city and what, if you know, what are the codes like for the federal buildings or receiving the federal funds? What are the difference between the city codes and the federal codes?
They are numerous. You really have to ask the department for clarity on that. I don't believe the federal codes, the department stating the federal codes did not play a role in this.
All right. And when you say that the doors were open, we are talking about the door from the apartment or the door from the stairwell?
Apartment. Also a stairwell.
Right. Thank you.
That's how the smoke got up there.
Can you just elaborate, I'm sorry, on what you meant by typical conditions, meaning before the staffing changes or due to COVID? I'm sorry if you said that already.
The staffing changes were related to medical leave, which was heightened by the fact that everyone has COVID these days.
And just in terms of the COVID, is there any chance that this building was keeping doors open throughout the building to increase ventilation as a way to be because of COVID?
No.
Is that something?
No.
No.
We haven't heard that. No.
Thank you.
Just if you could explain the impact of a stairwell door being open. At the same time, people are trying to escape from their apartments and walk down.
Right. When a stairwell door is open, it turns the stairwell in with chimney. Heat rises right up the stairwell.
But we have.
When the apartment door is open or the stairwell door is open, it exposes the entire building to the products of combustion, the smoke and the deadly superheated gases that go out through the apartment. And that's what so many of the victims succumbed to, because there wasn't breathable air when they were trying to escape in the stairwell. So the only way out is in the stairwell. They stayed in the apartment, they still had smoke. And again, why people went to the roof or tried to make their way out a different stairwell, but not closing the doors exposes everybody in the building to the smoke and the toxic superheated gases.
How many firefighters, if any, were injured, and what were the extent of their injuries?
I know we had one member go to a hyperbaric chamber. I hear he is recovering. There were other various minor injuries.
Yeah, a couple of the officer and the firefighter in the first 2 engine got burnt slightly in on the neck.
Do you happen to know where the majority of victims were taken? Did they go to St. Barnabas, or were they taken mostly to Jacoby?
Various different hospitals. Yeah.
I mean, all of it. There were 60 victims removed. You'd have to ask the EMS or the department for a better accounting.
But with the firefighters who are injured physically and also maybe going through a lot of stuff emotionally, I imagine many of them are not going to return to work at least for a few days. Can you talk about how the unions deal with those issues, with those sort of emotional issues, and is there an added concern now, given that the department is down so many people out sick with COVID?
We encourage our members to seek counseling. It's not always something that members do. We will continue to push for it. I would like to see counseling mandatory on fatal fires. It's really it's something else for members. We have members that have a long-standing history of not accepting this kind of help. So they really should seek it, but the department should also look to get all the members that were involved counseling.
And we have very good counseling service unit in the fire department, and using a lot of peer counselors, retired firefighters that have training to talk to active duty firefighters that experienced fatal fires. And again, as Andy has said, we encourage all the members to go see counseling and to take care of their mental health as well, with exposed to such a tragedy, and the efforts they made to try and save lives. And even though many of the residents passed away, but our members did as much as they could. So we encourage them to talk to the counselors, peer counselors, and take advantage of the services the fire department offers.
A firefighter is your typical firefighter today more likely to seek counseling than let's say from a generation ago, or is there still that wall of bravado, so to speak?
Well, I think that there still is. We have that tough exterior, but I think still a lot of people are willing to talk to the counselors if we're giving them encouragement and making it available to them where they need it. I think many of our members would seek the counseling, and we made it available and widespread throughout the department, so the access is a lot easier.
Right. After 9/11, they recognized the need for more counseling, and the department's done a great job of promoting
it. In terms of the firefighters running short of air, what is it about their training? What do they do under the circumstances? They're in a stairway, there's smoke, people are collapsing. What are they doing to keep themselves safe?
Relying on their training. They have their tactics to try to conserve their own air and slow down their breathing. And at that point, they're just tolerating an intolerable condition to get the job done.
Yeah, there is some breathable air at the floor level. So if somebody runs out of air, they usually are crawling with their face against the floor where there is some breathable air, but not enough to sustain life. So you need to make an exit as soon as possible when you run out of air in the SCBA.
Hi, all. Thank you so much. This is Costanza Maio with CBS National News. I just want to make clear one point. There was no sprinkler system in the building. Is that just typical of older buildings? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, I'm not aware if there was a sprinkler system, but it often happens in much older buildings that it wasn't required, and sometimes federal regulations don't require a sprinkler. But what I understand is that many of the buildings have retrofitted with sprinklers subsequently because it is a life-saving fire protection device.
Yeah, it would seem like there wasn't one in here.
Okay, just to clarify, it seems like there wasn't a sprinkler system here. Is that knowledge that you have confirmed?
Yeah, I didn't have any reports on the scene of the sprinkler system operational and not operational. I just think in the construction there wasn't one.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the media? Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. If there are any follow-up questions, you can send us along an email, and we will answer them promptly.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, may I ask who's speaking?
Yeah, it's Julie Walker from AB Radio. I'm not sure if this was asked before, but when the marshals zeroed in on the space heater, how were they able to figure out so quickly that it malfunctioned as opposed to user malfunction?
Well, user malfunction would probably have, there would probably be debris from something that had caught fire in front of it. If it was a malfunction of the machinery itself, it might be the cord or the outlet. So again, I would have to get the report, but to my knowledge, that's how they differentiate between the two.
Okay,
the fire
and would
itself
you
started in the unit, not the contents near it.
Okay, and would you be able to get that report and further answer my question?
Not at this moment, no. It's still being written.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a procedure that fire marshals go through to investigate the fire, and there's a lot of clues that indicate where the fire started and how it started. So they are well trained and experienced to make those determinations. And that'll be in the subsequent reports. It may be a while before that comes out.
Okay, so they would just, at one of the press conferences, they did say that they spoke with people, I guess. Would that mean they spoke with the residents of the apartment?
That's usually, that is part of the investigation. You speak to the surviving members of the residents.
Okay, and is this, I know that there was a fire, I think it was back in 2017 or sometime in around that time, where there was another Bronx fire that was started by a space heater. I mean, are these space heaters, is this a common thing, or if it's not common, is it something that happens where these space heaters malfunction and they just catch fire? Is it an outlet issue, a cord issue, a space heater issue? Is this something people need to watch out for?
Well, absolutely. There's a warning label on the box. These things generate a lot of heat, and heat causes fires. And when they draw a lot of electricity as well. It could be any one of those issues that causes it. Either faulty wiring or malfunction of the appliance, or flammable contents too close to it. Could be any number of these things.
I'm sorry, the last thing you said was flammable content? I'm sorry.
Yeah, a blanket, a couch, anything. If you put something too close to it, it could catch fire.
Okay. But would that be user malfunction, or that's still?
Yes, that would be user, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you again.
You're welcome. But again, it's not clear if this was user malfunction or well, actually, they said it was a malfunction of the equipment. Yes, not user malfunction.
Right, I understand that. I just couldn't understand the last thing you were saying. We don't have a great
sometimes you put them too close to the bed or the couch, or they might put a kid may come home, put a school bag next to it. No idea. Could be anything.
Okay, thank you again.